6:06. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake Barty producing. We are off and running with this morning's show. Looking forward to this show. Got a lot to cover on this show. A lot going on in Washington, D.C. right now. A lot of that's going to come up in this show. A lot going on in our backyard that we're going to talk about as well. Guest list, here's what we're at. Russell Richardson from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber hopping on board at 7:15. We are going to talk about the growth of the healthcare sector in Baton Rouge. Health as an economic driver in Baton Rouge. And what is still to come in that regard. That's at 7:15. Kenny Havard at 7:35. Always like having Kenny Havard on. He is the president of West Feliciana Parish. Kenny Havard has been a topic of news quite a bit, but not always for the right reasons. He gets a bad rep for wanting to square off against the governor when it comes to things like mask mandates and the like. But if you look at his parish throughout COVID, he's put up some ridiculous results. It's been fantastic. His rate of positivity in West Feliciana is lower than the rest of the state. He's actually showing up on CDC county maps now, nationwide, for those results. But the news stories are never about the results. They're always about the conflict. Anyway, Kenny Havard, 7:35. Congressman Troy, let me reverse that. The Gulf Coast Brotherhood ride at 8:15. This is one we've, if you'll pardon the pun, been on board with before. Cops helping cops and how you can help them. That's at 8:15. 8:35, Congressman Troy Carter hopping on board. We'll talk with Congressman Carter about what a lot of this first hour is going to be about as well. And that is deals getting done in Washington, D.C. that we need them to get done in Washington, D.C. We are in need of disaster assistance. Where is that? We are in need of infrastructure and transportation. Where is that? We are in need of the government staying open beyond Friday. Oh, where is that? In fact, coming up in just a couple of minutes, bottom half of this hour, we're going to talk a lot about that. Senator Bill Cassidy was on the floor of the Senate yesterday with a impassioned speech talking about not just the hurricane recovery, but Senate Democrats objecting to his bill. It's Cassidy, McConnell, Shelby, John Kennedy. They had a proposal out there that would fund the government, provide disaster relief, and extend the National Flood Insurance Program without kicking rates up. It got shot down. We'll hear that audio from the senator later on this hour. Hey, also this hour, I got to dive into this at 6:35. Is the governor going to bring it into the mask mandate today? Press conference, 1 p.m. Press conference, 1 p.m. The governor is slated to make an announcement about COVID-19. 6:35. I dug into some numbers last night to see if we could find some comparisons from the last time we got out of a mask mandate. We'll dive into that at 6:35. Talk about what we can expect from the governor later on today. That plus this day in history, that plus top stories and trending, that plus the outside in. We're going to dig into all of it before the morning is over with. Oh, and it's LSU Auburn week. Got to talk a little bit about the Auburn Tigers. I mean, that is, of all the games on the calendar year, Auburn always gets a big circle for me. Probably more so than Alabama, which is weird for a Tiger fan to say, but it's true. Auburn games take on their own personality every year. You've got games with names of them more often than not. The Barn Burner, Bring Back the Magic. I mean, those were both mid-'90s, but we've had more since then. The PAT game. What's this year's Auburn matchup going to look like? Actually, we could see history in Tiger Stadium on Saturday. We'll get into that when we do sports next, coming up in our next segment. Which, by the way, we're due up for a break. So let's go ahead and take that break right now. Before we take that break, though, if you've ever been in an accident You know that things happen quickly. You know what you got to get done. If you've never been in an accident, I need you to listen up for just a second. When you do get into an accident, a lot of things are going to happen very quickly, and one of those things is deciding where to take your vehicle. Now, if your first call is to your insurance company, they're going to have suggestions for you because they have deals hammered out with places that handle things on the cheap just for them. But the insurance company doesn't get to decide. They're going to pressure you to make you feel like they get to decide, but they don't get to decide where your car is going. You do. And they still have to pick up the tab. That's why you pay your insurance every month. Complete Collision with 2 locations, Plank Road in Zachary and Perkins in Baton Rouge. Perkins just east of Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. Complete Collision is here to pick up that battle for you. Make sure your car is fixed properly, back out on the road the right way, back out on the road safely, back out on the road to factory standards. Check them out online at CompleteCollision.com, CompleteCollision.com. They will pick up that battle with your insurance company. And make no bones about it, there will be a battle with your insurance company. They'll handle the battle with your insurance company, and they will take care of you, not so much taking care of the insurance company. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. All right, let me go run down the hall and make sure my 815 is good to go. Morning, Renee. Morning, Eric. Oh, man. Well, every 6 months, whatever. <clears throat> 616 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Sports time, and yes, it is Auburn week. Special week on the football calendar. It is Auburn week. We are, 4 games into the season already? And one of the big things sticking out so far for LSU's offense is the lack of a run game. As LSU prepares for Auburn, Coach Ed Orgeron was asked in his weekly press conference about the run game and the level of disappointment he has for it.
Well, we're disappointed. I think we have some outstanding backs. We just don't have any room to run. And we have some guys that get knocked back. Sometimes we have holes, sometimes we don't have holes. We just need to be more consistent. And we need to choose the runs that we can run well. I think our counters, it's the first time we run our gap plays. We had some success on our gap plays. We had some big plays. We have to stay with that. We have to do the things that we know to do well and do them better.
Yeah, it all starts up front, though. The run game's fixated on the runners, and it needs to be looked at the blocking. That's where the run game's going to start with. And are we running the run plays that are adaptive to our run game? And there's all this effort to recreate the 2019 offense. Well, are you recreating Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Or are you taking what you have in Ty Davis-Price, making it work around him? Not really. That's why Corey Kinder's shining so far. And I'm done chasing the whole "is John Emery coming back today" thing. I don't think TJ's going to get the start this week. I think it goes back to Bo Nix. TJ might come in and finish things out if Bo Nix doesn't get it done on the field. But there's the potential that LSU could have a former starter starting against them this weekend in Tiger Stadium. Ed Orgeron was asked about the possibility of squaring off against TJ Finley.
Well, first of all, TJ came talk to me like a man in my office. He didn't want to leave. He was crying. And LSU meant a lot to him, but I knew that. And but it was a decision that was made that it was best for him. And so he left. And he looks like he's doing well. So, hey, we wish him the best, not obviously against us. But, hey, TJ is always going to be a part of our family. He's from Ponchatoula. He's got a great family. So, hey, after the game, we're going to shake hands. It's just like us playing Cody. It's family, but once we compete, we compete. And we wish him the very best, and I hope he does very well. And we're going to shake his hand after the game.
Now, that sets up the possibility of having to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. How do you prepare for 2 quarterbacks?
Yeah, you just have to have a plan. You have to see what Bo does well and what TJ does well. I don't think the run game is going to change with either of them. I don't think the pass protection is going to change. They may move one quarterback a little bit more than the other. But I think it's more of a throwing style. Obviously, we know very well how TJ throws the ball, which is excellent. He has a cannon for an arm. And then we know Bo's throwing style. So I think it's more or less what type of passing game they're going to have with both of those guys. So I think that's the big difference.
Kickoff, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. in Tiger Stadium. Whew. Coverage on the network begins at 6. Coverage on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, starts at either 4 or 3 in the afternoon on Saturday. Should be a great day out there on campus. I mean, tailgating should be electric this Saturday on campus. Here comes we've got more, but we'll pick it up after the Fox Business Report.
It just dawned on me that I'm going to be doing the.
What?
It just dawned on me I'm going to be doing the whiskey and wine show until about 2 in the morning on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dang. That should be interesting.
Come on. 624. Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Should the governor lift the mask mandate? Wait, let me rephrase that question. Will the governor lift the mask mandate? We'll break that down about 10 minutes from right now. Going to dive into COVID boosters. A lot of hubbub yesterday as the president got his booster shot. We'll dive into that in just a minute. Before we close the book on sports, though, Derek Stingley was missing from last week's game. He was hurt. I guess he was on the sideline in a boot. Will he be back for this week? Coach Ogeron had an update on Derek Stingley yesterday.
We haven't heard anything yet. He's going to see a doctor this week. He has not seen the doctor, so it's still the same right now.
Fantastic. I'm legit not worried about seeing Derek Stingley this week, though. I got to tell you, because this week's about stopping the run game, stopping Auburn's run game. We've seen that Auburn has enough problems in the passing game that they had to call on TJ Finley. They brought in TJ Finley to get Bo Nix to right the ship, like light a fire under their starter, and don't really see where that's working. Anyway, now we can close the book on football for today. So, a lot of news yesterday, a lot of headlines yesterday. President Joe Biden got his COVID booster. And thus far, we've only heard about boosters for Pfizer. What about all the other ones out there? Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, they're both very active in the United States, but we haven't heard anything about a booster for them. While some data might indicate less of a need for a Moderna booster, Tulane epidemiologist and our news partners, news at the bottom of the hour is going to have this as well. Tulane epidemiologist Dr. Susan Hassick says it's hard to compare the long-term efficacy of the vaccines at this point.
It's really hard to do a good efficacy effectiveness study in a population base like this without huge expenditures of resources, which I don't think they have.
They don't have resources to that extent, and they don't have time either. You can't do a long-term study on something that's only been out for a few months. Like the booster is available in Pfizer for people who got the first shots or their second shot more than 6 months ago. Timelining that out, we were just getting open to everybody at that point. Like the people who had the pre-existing conditions, they're the only ones that are in line right now. The people who met a certain age requirement or health requirements, they're the only ones that are in line right now. I don't know how you could do a long-term study on something that hasn't been out here long-term. That being said, Hassick, who admittedly is not a proponent of booster shots, says the vaccines are serving their purpose and for the most part keep those from serious illness and hospitalization from the virus. And this is one of those ones that it kept coming up and kept coming up and kept coming up. Do we need boosters? Not really. We need more people to get vaccinated. Okay, but boosters? No, we just need more people to get vaccinated. Yeah, but what about boosters? I don't know why you're not listening. We just need more people in the original pool of vaccinated people. We'll worry about a booster shot after we get everybody in on the first 2 rounds. And yet, the argument just kept coming up. Let's get somebody a booster. Let's get boosters out there. Boosters will just get more shots in arms. I don't know if there's any other way to say it other than that. I don't know if you're increasing our likelihood of getting out of this pandemic by putting booster shots in more arms. Now, there's no downside to it. But is there need there? As for the need for a booster shot, for those who took the one-dose Johnson, Johnson & Johnson, Hassick says it's hard to tell because not as many people took that offering.
The problem is that, not a lot of people with Johnson & Johnson are showing up in the hospital, in part because there's not as many of them as there are vaccinated with Moderna and Pfizer.
And it's not true of just Johnson & Johnson. When you look at the numbers from the Louisiana Department of Health every day, I'll pull it up for today. What do we got? What percentage of those who are hospitalized, which, by the way, that number's gotten a lot lower, 85% of those who are hospitalized are unvaccinated, which means your sample size is going to be, and that's the lowest number of unvaccinated in the hospital so far. It's been hovering between 88 and 90% unvaccinated. 85% of those in the hospital are currently unvaccinated. So how can you do any kind of effective study on what is right now just 15% to determine whether or not a booster shot would have changed whether or not that 15% is there or not? As for long-term efficacy of Moderna, Hasek says it's hard to tell for there because, in the most part, Louisiana, the majority of those who receive the Moderna vaccine are nursing home residents
who are living in a very different world in terms of their mobility and entry into the community and restricted visitation and much lower potential interactions with Delta.
Plus all the underlying health concerns that were talked about from the start. The biggest problem is there's too many variables to narrow one thing down in this period of time. But I don't know. This wasn't if you'll pardon the pun, this wasn't a difficult shot to call. Is there upside? I don't know. There's no downside. All right, run with it. Here comes CBS News. All right. Oh, I'll be right back in 1 second, y'all. Cold today.
It is chilly outside. A little bit.
No, I mean I'm cold. Like internally, I'm just my
Oh.
temperature's off today. It's, This has been a couple days in a row where I'm just not feeling right.
When's the last time you seen a doctor?
Spring, February, March.
It feels pretty often you got something. Not like a sickness, but
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't know. How'd you do in fantasy this weekend?
Oh, I won again this weekend.
Hey.
I'm loving daily fantasy.
Just
You
like
know,
getting a new team every week?
Yeah.
That's so weird to me. I mean, this is
Same.
this is my second year doing it, so it's not like I have that whole lifelong experience to go off of, but you know, I'm used to one thing now, and who you draft that's who you got unless you go to the waiver wire, and good luck finding any gems in there, especially if you already have a solid team. I'm just happy James Robinson turned up for me. He was pretty trash the first 2 weeks, but not just because he's a good fantasy player, but I watched him. He's a really good running back. I knew he'd put up stats one day. Glad it only took to week 3. Hopefully he keeps that going.
Okay. I don't think I'd do that. Well,
Well, I mean, Kyler Murray's going up against the Rams, and they have, like, the best defense. And Kirk Cousins has actually been solid. I don't know. It feels like there's no world I should be starting Kirk Cousins over Kyler Murray. But
yeah.
I don't know. This matchup looks really favorable. Really enticing.
What is that? Oh, I don't know who it is. Cool. All right. .638, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So, 1 o'clock this afternoon, Governor John Bell Edwards will address the media about COVID-19. Governor John Bell Edwards will hold a media briefing on Louisiana's response to COVID-19 and provide an update on Hurricane Ida recovery. The mask mandate ends tomorrow. So it's expected that he'll make an announcement on whether or not they're extending the mask mandate today. Which brings us to the question, will the governor lift the mask mandate today? Short answer, I doubt it. Longer answer, well, that depends on what numbers he's looking at and what exactly goes into the gating criteria. And that's kind of been a problem from the start for those of us on the outside looking in, which is basically everybody. The hardest part about all this has been having no definitive goals. Now, as a people, as a people, we can do whatever we put our minds to. As a group, if we know where the finish line is, we can get to the finish line. With COVID, the finish line's been a moving target from the start. Remember 2 weeks to flatten the curve? That was the mantra from the start. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That actually... That actually was legit, but it was as close to we've gotten to a definitive goal. Problem was, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. A lot of people misinterpreted that as in 2 weeks to eliminate the curve. Like if we all hunkered down for 2 weeks, this would all be over with. No, you were there to flatten the curve, not eliminate it. You weren't getting rid of a pandemic. In hindsight, you could see 2 weeks to flatten the curve was not going to bring about an end to this. It was going to be anything you do for 2 weeks is going to pay off to keep people out of the hospital. You can't end a pandemic in the same amount of time it takes to quit a job at Burger King. Now, before we look at whether or not the governor is going to end the mask mandate, let's ask this question. What is the purpose of the mask mandate? In short, it is to flatten the curve. Or, in short, if it is to flatten the curve, then the main number that everyone should be looking at is hospitalizations. The main criteria within whatever framework they set up to determine whether or not everyone's free to stop wearing the mask again would be hospitalizations. You flatten the curve to keep people out of the hospital. As long as hospital beds are available, COVID deaths remain COVID deaths and not the result of people dying from other things because hospital beds weren't available. We saw this in Italy at the beginning of the pandemic. We've had this message hammered home throughout all 4 surges. So what does that mean for today's announcement? Well, let's rewind the clock to the last time the governor rescinded his mask mandate, April 28th of this year. Actually, let's go back to the beginning of the mask mandate for a little bit better context. That would be July 13th of last year. At that time, there were 1,308 COVID-19 patients in the hospital. 11 days later, that number had jumped to 1,600. But if you invoke that 2 weeks to flatten the curve phrase, what you see there is almost immediately after those 11 days, when you got to 14 days beyond the mask mandate being implemented, it began to steadily decline. And oh, by the way, it went from 1,600 all the way down to 518 by October 3rd, which weirdly is not that quick of a decline, especially when you have the historical perspective of looking at what we did during the 4th surge to compare it to. So you're down to 518 on October 3rd, lingered there for a while. We had a holiday surge that brought the number all the way up to 2,069 on January 7th of this year, then ultimately started to taper and dropped down to 308 on April 28th of this year when the governor called off the dogs. Interestingly enough, it continued to drop after that, getting down to 242 by June 19th. It stayed in that 200s to 300 range until the 4th surge took over mid-July, and we peaked at 3,022 people in the hospital on August 17th. Now, yesterday, we were at 984 COVID patients in the hospital, not nearly as low as the 308 that were in there the last time the governor removed the mask mandate. But it is also a larger, or should I say faster, decline over a shorter period of time to get us there. So from a hospitalization standpoint alone, the 4th surge is over with as far as Louisiana is concerned. The curve has been flattened once again as far as Louisiana is concerned. From our standpoint, 4th surge in the rear view. Now, outside of hospitalizations, I don't know how much they can key in on positivity rate, because how many times have we heard you got to throw everything else out with the Delta variant? Delta variant's changed the ballgame. It's affecting younger people. It's affecting more people. It's having a different outlook or a different outcome for so many. So I don't know if you could focus in on positivity rate. We've been seeing more cases with this surge than we did in previous surges. But comparatively speaking, those numbers are starting to wane as well. And they're also doing so at a rate that's on about the same pace as the last time the mask mandate was lifted. So what else do you look at? Honestly, at some point, you'd probably have to try and make a case for putting a quantifiable number on things that can't be quantified. At some point, you got to ask, has the mask mandate even been effective? See, even that, it depends on what data you choose to look at. On its surface, both times the mask mandate went into effect, COVID hospitalizations dropped significantly, starting roughly 2 weeks after the beginning of the mandate. Like we said, 11 days after the first mask mandate went into effect, that's where the numbers peaked. Mask mandate goes into effect the second time around. We got all the way up to 3,022, and they started a sharp decline. But there are a few other things to consider here. When asking, was it the mask mandate that was responsible for the decline? You're hard-pressed to argue against it because the numbers are right there in front of your face. Here's mask mandate, here's decline. Rinse, repeat. But let's not forget, we had an entire third surge while under a mask mandate. Everybody was all masked up, and the numbers in the hospital shot right past almost to double. Well, not almost double. They shot right past by a good 700. Good 700 beyond the numbers that called for the first mask mandate to begin with. And then there's this, and I don't know if we can address this. The governor has said repeatedly, you're not going to enforce your way out of a pandemic. But is anybody even listening anymore? Look, I know one man's story. This is not scientific, it's anecdotal. But of the number of stores I visited over the weekend, I can tell you the greatest number of customers wearing masks was in Matherns just after 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Bed Bath & Beyond, Home Depot, both of those on Sunday. Nobody. Well, very, very few people, to say the least. I'm running down Bed Bath & Beyond and Home Depot like I'm Frank the Tank in Old School. The employees in all these places, sure, but the patrons, maybe one or two, especially Home Depot. Now, granted, like I said, this is my experience. One man's story. It's anecdotal. It's not scientific, but there's no way I'm unique. So if the numbers are trending downward, surges have happened with or without masks, and chunks of the population stopped caring, why continue this? I'm sure there's factors I'm missing, but what's on the table leads me to suggest maybe they should call about an end to the mask mandate today to buy yourself a little street cred with those that don't like masks for the next time you need a mask mandate, for the next variant, the next surge, the next time we start to see that uptick. And mark my words, there will be a next time. That being said, I don't expect it. I think we're going to go another month. Let's take a break. Check your money now. Check traffic. Coming right back on Talk 107.3.
Sometimes big renovation projects seem intimidating, but with one-man solutions, it's a breeze. From tub to shower for ease of accessibility, or just because you never use your tub and get everything done in one place. One-man solutions. Visit
Dwayne says, I would be interested in comparing surges from mask states to no mask states. Yeah, as would I. I don't know. It's hard to separate when you look at the first surge and the fourth surge. I'm sorry, the second surge and the fourth surge. We didn't take on a mask mandate in the first surge. The second surge and the fourth surge, there's a very definitive line that says this is where the mask mandate went in. It takes 2 weeks to get anything done in a pandemic, and this is where it started to drop. See, Troy, okay. Maybe I wasn't too far off on this take. Maybe because Troy says not sure what he says today makes a big difference. I know. Everybody's pretty much done with it. Do you stop asking people to wear masks because nobody's listening anyway? What is this? Oh, the four-way test. Yeah, stop before traffic, and then we'll do traffic afterwards. Well, then stop it after this. All right, don't worry about it. Just go straight to your money now after this. Stop it right before traffic and let traffic play after your money now in the spot. Yeah, if there's like 15, 20 seconds I got to fill, I can fill those. That's fine. Kill it. Wait. There you go. Go to your money now. Okay. Yeah, just let the rest play out. Had yourself a nice little weekend, didn't you? It was a good little weekend. Tried to go to Olive Garden. Didn't know if we'd have time. Ice. The jug of water was in the freezer for the exact right amount of time. 1 hour and 30 minutes. You said I had a spot here?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Almost. Almost. You have that Senator Cassidy cut here? Okay. Yep. Is the government about to shut down? 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Is the government about to shut down? We're going to get to that in a minute. Also, CBS World News Roundup coming your way 7.5 minutes from right now. Hey, before we put a button on the whole mask mandate question, and once again, Governor John Bell Edwards will address the media at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Just a couple of comments, if we could, from inside the live chat on our YouTube page. By the way, if you're not watching the show on YouTube, there's a lot of interaction during commercials. We don't really take a break. Sometimes I got to leave the studio, but we don't really take a break. And want to read back a couple of comments, if we could. Troy says, not sure what he says today makes a big difference. There's very little compliance and or enforcement of the mask mandate these days. And that's a point the governor has made from the start, is that we're not going to enforce our way out of this. But at the same time, though, if everybody collectively says, then where are we as far as what's the use of having a mask mandate if everybody just thumbs their nose to it? Dwayne says, I'd be interested in comparing surges from masked states and not masked states. That would be interesting as well. But again, there's so many variables that I don't think you could do a side-by-side comparison like that. Think of all the different variables it would take to come down to an actual level of efficacy of the masks. I think the governor, and I don't think he's wrong in doing so, can only look at the numbers that are in front of him. And he said before, look, Louisiana is one of the worst states out there, or was at the beginning of the fourth surge, one of, if not the worst state in the nation. So now's not the time to go look at what other states are doing. Now's the time to start fixing things here. Although, I would argue if we're doing it worse than everybody else, maybe do it like everybody else and we can get better. But Renee says, I've not been wearing a mask at most places because I'm tired of this, and I don't think it really works. Look how many people wear it below their nose or on their chin, and that's another great point. Walk around anywhere. And, yeah, a lot of people throwing the mask on and then just wearing it like a chin strap. Fantastic. That gets nothing done. Let's see. Bengal makes a good point here. It says you can't thumb your nose at your employer if they enforce it unless you want to possibly lose your job. Yeah, but if I don't work for Home Depot, I don't have to wear a mask when I'm in Home Depot. But you're right. The employees everywhere I've gone have been wearing their masks. Just take a look around. How many people do you see wearing the masks correctly at this point? Is it to a point where everybody's like, I just don't care anymore? Yeah, I'll wear it at work because I got to wear it at work. In fact, we got a reminder yesterday. I'll wear it at work because I got to wear it at work. Outside of that, no. Tired of my glasses fogging up. Tired of breathing heavy. Tired of just having the dadgum thing on. All right, moving on. Is the government about to shut down? We'll talk about that in just a second. Hey, do you have a little minor pain that's been nagging you for some time now? Not talking about recovering from a major injury. I'm talking about like those old injuries that come back to haunt you much, much later on. Maybe in the knee, the lower back, maybe your shoulder. Baton Rouge Physical Therapy is here for you. They are here to help. 6 locations throughout the greater Baton Rouge area. You can find them at brptlake.com, brptlake.com, to set up your free screening, your complimentary screening, at the location that's nearest you. If you don't want to look them up online, you can call them at 917-9185, 917-9185, and talk to them. Just talk about how they can help, about what you need, about what your comfort levels are in treating what you need. And from there, you could develop a plan and work towards getting back to being your best you. Physical therapy, it's not just for recovering from a major accident. Get back to being your best you. And Baton Rouge Physical Therapy has done it longer than anybody else in Baton Rouge. Going on 60 years in business with 6 locations throughout the greater Baton Rouge area. They bring you the outside in every day, and they're here to get you back to being your best you at Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. All right, Senator Bill Cassidy's been hard at work on putting together a plan that can, well, keep the government open, keep it funded, while at the same time provide disaster relief here in Louisiana, extend out the NFIP without us having to take a big rate hike. He put that plan forth yesterday. He started off by addressing the Senate, saying, I rise in support of my colleague's proposal. It's not his proposal. He's just signed off on it. A lot of the language is his, though. He says the proposal does 4 very important things. It provides disaster supplemental assistance relief for Southwest and Southeast Louisiana, extends the NFIP, funds the government, and restores funding for Israel's Iron Dome. The senator continues.
We are 3 days away from a government shutdown for one reason. Democrats control Washington. A clean vote on disaster relief and a continuing resolution to fund the government, legislation filed by Senators McConnell and Shelby, passes today with overwhelming bipartisan support. We know that. But my Democratic colleagues are holding this critical funding set not just to fund the government, but funding set to benefit victims of disasters in my state and elsewhere hostage to fund their planned tax and spend extravaganza. Disaster victims need disaster relief. It's 1 month since Hurricane Ida, 6 months from unprecedented ice storms, 12 months since Hurricanes Laura and Delta wreaked havoc on southwest Louisiana. Disaster assistance is long overdue. This bill gets it done. And while we're recovering from 2 years' worth of storms, we can't allow the National Flood Insurance Program to expire. Many policyholders, especially in Louisiana, are still recovering from hurricane damage. Government shouldn't pull the rug of insurance from beneath them. It's critical the program is extended so homeowners are covered if there is another storm. This proposal extends NFIB. It also provides disaster relief. The proposal is good for Louisiana. It's good for the country. I urge my colleagues to support this proposal. With that, I yield.
Got to wonder why it's such a full-throated defense of something that should be so easy. Are we about to get lost in the shuffle in a bigger deal in Washington, D.C. that leaves Senator Cassidy, Senator Kennedy, and the rest of our congressional delegation to the wayside? Here comes CBS News. What's this is? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Getting far too many business cards stacked up in this thing. Time to clean out. What is this? Oh, a check stub. Nice. What's that from? March of this year. Well, I guess I still need it for my taxes. All right. Hmm. Hey, morning, Christy. I figure out what's wrong with my phone. It's not alerting me when my wife texts me. Do what? Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't know how to have done that. Hmm. Let's try that. I win. Gotcha.
But there's still some summer left in the tank. Tuesday is set to be gloomy and muggy with thick cloud cover for most of the day. Temperatures will max out in the low to mid-80s. Showers will be in and out all day long, but most of the activity will be in the afternoon. Grab your umbrella and keep it close by for the next few days. Overnight temperatures will be in the low to mid-70s. Another rainy day is on deck for Wednesday. Temperatures maxing out in the low 80s with scattered showers and storms all day. Few heavy downpours and localized street flooding will be possible.
I'm actually embarrassed to talk about what I saved my paper clips, so I reuse them the next day. And I got this one pocket over here; it's just overly full. I need to throw everything away. That's funny though. Costanza. 706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. Jake Barty producing. We got a busy hour this hour. Going to be talking about growth in East Baton Rouge Parish and the surrounding area, especially in the health field. Got some other stories to cover with Baton Rouge Area Chambers Russell Richardson coming up in our next segment. But that's where we're going to start, is with growth in the health field. Also this hour, we're going to talk with Kenny Havard, West Feliciana Parish President Kenny Havard. COVID has been a weird bird in West Feliciana. First of all, you got Angola, right? So when congregant settings were the big thing as far as rampant spread of COVID-19, he was on the radar very, very quickly as, things are going wrong in West Feliciana. Well, no, they're all going wrong behind a wall. They're all going wrong in the prison, not for the rest of the parish. But ever since then, his parish has been a beacon, an example of how to do things the right way. With, on the one hand, trusting your citizens to be safe, and on the other, having them actually be safe. Positivity rates have been low, vaccination rates have been high. But the only time you hear headlines out of there is when he says something like, I'm not going to enforce a mask mandate in my parish. All right. Well, as it turns out, nobody really enforced it. That's all later on this hour. We start things off, though, with top stories and trending. Let's go. We covered a lot last hour. Governor John Bell Edwards is expected to announce whether he will extend the state's mask mandate. The governor has scheduled a news briefing at 1 p.m. to discuss the state's health orders related to COVID-19. The current mask order is scheduled to expire tomorrow. Officials say a 2-year-old who went missing from a Baton Rouge apartment and was ultimately found dead across state lines did not die of natural causes. The EBR coroner's office released a preliminary autopsy report yesterday calling Nevaeh Allen's death a homicide. The coroner has not yet determined a cause of death for the child, which is pending further examination. The toddler's body was found in a remote area of Mississippi on Sunday, 2 days after she was reported missing. Jury selection began Monday in the trial of Frank Garcia, one of 2 accused of kidnapping and killing Suzanne and Dennis DePlanche back in 2015. Prosecutors say the evidence against the pair is glaring, including stolen items from the DePlanches were found when the suspects were arrested. Quote, there's a lot of evidence here, DNA, license plate reader. There will be a lot to go through, District Attorney Hiller Moore said. Dennis and Suzanne DePlanche were beaten, bound, and taken from their home on Highland Road. Their bodies were later found inside their abandoned vehicle at a Hammond truck stop. Family members had contacted law enforcement after not hearing from the couple for some time. Moore suspects the case could take around 2 weeks to fully get through. A suspect being held at a juvenile detention center in East Baton Rouge allegedly sparked a fire inside the jail, using bed sheets in his holding cell. The Baton Rouge Fire Department said it was called to the Juvenile Detention Center on Veterans Memorial Boulevard shortly before 1:30 yesterday afternoon. There, investigators said a juvenile being housed started the fire in his own cell using bed linens and trash. The boy was safely removed from the cell, moved to another part of the building. 2 people were shot Monday evening at a mobile home park just off Main Street in Baker. Baker police said the shooting happened around 9:45 p.m. on Azalea Avenue. The condition of the victims has not yet been released. Actually, no other details at this time have been released. That is a look at. I'm sorry. I do have an update here. Let me start over with the story. A Monday night shooting at a mobile home park in Baker left 1 person dead and a 2nd person injured. Baker police, the same shooting. It happened at 9:45. Officials confirmed 1 person was found dead when responders first arrived, and a 2nd person was rushed to an area hospital in critical condition. Additional information related to the shooting was not immediately available. For example, suspects and motives. At your top stories, here's a look at what's trending this morning. Got a couple stories about bridges, actually. First of all, DOTD officials have decided on a new design for the I-10 bridge over City Park Lake. Department of Transportation announced the look for the interstate bridge on Monday, along with a new monument that will be erected alongside the roadway. Final designs were selected through an online poll and through feedback the state received at a community open house last month. Engineers and architects will now move into the design stage where they'll be tasked with transforming the winning renders into reality. That's one bridge story. Here's another. Drivers fighting bumper-to-bumper traffic on the Horace Wilkinson Bridge is the thing we see every day. But looks like plans are in the works for a new Mississippi River Bridge. I know. I have trouble saying it out loud. Rinse, repeat. We're all Charlie Brown. The new bridge is the football, or the new bridge is Lucy. Story from WBRZ. One day, the Capital Area Road and Bridge District hopes it'll become a thing of the past. Talk about that traffic on the bridge. They held a meeting yesterday to further discuss a potential location for a new bridge. The general area for the project is based between the Horace Wilkinson and Sunshine Bridge. So that's Highway 30 down in Gonzales. Quote, we felt it was important to allow the data to drive the decisions and to screen the alternatives. And while it's very tempting for us to say this is probably unreasonable, it's probably not going to move forward, we didn't want to be arbitrary, biased. We wanted to let the data drive the decision, said one member within the meeting. So far, 15 of the locations that were proposed have been eliminated. 17 remain. So I don't know. I'm not getting my hopes up until not only is ground broken, but I'm not getting my hopes up till the bridge is completed. That's your top stories in trending. Quick break. When we come back, we're talking to the Russell Richardson with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber next. Oh, good. I'm glad I didn't do Mooyah there because the first spot was me anyway. I'll do it on the back end. Yeah. Oh. Whew. Yep. 3:30. Last night I went to bed at 12:30 in the morning. So I got 3 full hours. Usually it's 4 to 5. If I'm in bed by 11, I'm okay. For a day or two. Yeah. Yeah, my problem is I'm stringing too many of them in a row. I got... Yeah. Oh. Yeah, my big thing right now, falls are tough because I work LSU football on the weekend, so I don't get a chance to recuperate. I coach basketball for my kids, and now that means I've got 2 that I'm coaching for and 1 that I have to drive to and from. So yeah, I don't get started on this show until like 9 o'clock at night. 7:15, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Time to check in with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Time to talk a little bit about growth and recruitment and some projects that are upcoming. Russell Richardson's the Senior Vice President of Business Development for the Chamber. He joins us now. Russell, welcome back, man. How are you?
Hey, Brian, how you doing? Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you as well. I'm actually looking forward to this conversation because there's a couple key points here that have been on the uptick in Baton Rouge and I think need to be noted. And if we can note them, how do we capitalize on them to make them bigger than they already are? And that starts us off with healthcare, the health sector. There's some recruitment updates.
Yeah, so we wanted to just kind of give an update, of the work we've been doing in the healthcare sector and life sciences. It kind of goes back to back 2020. I think when the healthcare district they secured a grant around innovation and technology, and a piece of that was economic development. We were a partner of that with Pennington. So kind of out of that kind of came, okay, let's look at our healthcare sector, our life sciences, the capacities that we have here, and try to understand that better so we can figure out, what direction we want to go in. Particularly, BRAC is we're in the middle of our 5-year strategic planning, so trying to set up for that next 5-year chunk of, what direction and how are we going to expand that sector that's been doing quite well here locally, and we have some good assets. So what we did, we partnered with the health district. Entergy, one of our partners, signed on, as well as Pennington, and worked with LSU and LED, all the different organizations. And we went out to Deloitte, one of the consulting companies, and had them kind of come in and just do some analysis on the assets and the organizations that we have here, which led to kind of a group seminar, workshop type store where we worked through a competitive analysis and understanding what that value proposition could be around our life sciences and healthcare sector. And what they did, they looked at several criteria in terms of how we measure up. They looked at labor quality and availability. They looked at our competitive environment around regulations in that area. Just in terms of the level of innovation that's taking place here. They looked at real estate, the infrastructure that we have here. You think about Pennington, the facility itself. They looked at the access, whether it's our airport or any other transportation infrastructure. They look at the risk. They always evaluate communities based on things like, hurricanes, flooding, those types of things. And they just looked at the overall quality of life, and they kind of benchmarked us against, several other communities like Columbus, Ohio, Charlotte, North Carolina, Birmingham, Alabama, Houston, San Antonio. So we looked at all those different those different communities and just wanted to understand where we were on that map. And we measured up good in some of those areas, but there's others that we need to have work on. And then we took all that and then looked at, several different sectors that we should maybe start focusing on as we move forward. So some of those are obesity and diabetes that we know Pennington is heavily involved with. You think about the announcement that Dr. Shower had, the bariatric surgery center. I think that's been about a couple of years since that announced. So that is, for example, that's an asset that we want to play off of and see. Our goal is to reach out to companies in this space and understand how we can attract them better and incrementally build that sector. And most of those sectors that came back from Deloitte, a lot of it was in terms of the opportunity was around research and development and all the clinical trials. Mm-hmm. We learned a lot that I didn't know about the sector. There's a lot of clinical trial activity going on here in the Baton Rouge area. We also looked at pharmaceuticals and our animal health. You think about the LSU vet, and then all the, just our building off of our chemical corridor. We're trying to understand what some of those specialty chems could look like in terms of how that might be able to attract potential companies as well. So we took all that and kind of distilling that down to a plan to go out and recruit, as well as build up the sector here. So part of that process is, bringing the industry together, getting the organizations involved so that everyone kind of collectively knows where we're trying to go with this plan. We're going to have monthly advisory committee meetings starting up that are kind of going to originate with the health district. And our hope is to build that out and start building some of these industry groups that so folks kind of understand what the goal is and how we want to bring new companies here. Part of that, just a couple of recent events or current events that we're working on now. BRAC is going to host a Innovations in Health webinar. It's going to be sponsored by Blue Cross and Blue Shield. This is kind of a corporate venture fund of Blue Cross. They've got about $800 million in funding that they'll consider equity investments in emerging companies. And just looking at some of the companies they work with, it's if you think about technology, what's going on in healthcare and life sciences, how technology is advancing it very quickly, data analytics, data management, connecting providers, caregivers, those types of things. So that will be on this Wednesday, September 29th, noon to 1. You can go on BRAC's website to sign up for that event. So, in terms of, like I said, just trying to build the kind of the base and the understanding, the collective grouping of, folks in this industry here locally. We're trying to do more events like that, bring the groups together. We're also going out and recruiting and starting to understand, what conferences, what companies that we need to be talking to. We're at a healthcare packaging conference right now with the healthcare district. A couple on our team and their team will be back this week, but talking with companies in that space to understand what might attract them there, if there's opportunities with those companies to see where we might go with them. So there's a lot of activity in the last year, and I think we'll see over the next few years going forward, particularly in life sciences.
Okay, from that I have 42 questions, so let's get started. I've got a few. Let's get started with this. You mentioned Pennington. Pennington's an underrated resource in Baton Rouge. When it comes to long-term planning, does Pennington, the fact that they're a research facility and not like an active hospital like you'd get from Our Lady of the Lake or Baton Rouge General or Ochsner, does Pennington give you all the chance to dream up new and big things to go after rather than just triaging the day-to-day functions of the healthcare field?
Yeah, Pennington's been a great asset. Dr. Kerwin there has been great about partnering with us. He was instrumental and a key piece to all this, all these things I just described that we've been working through the last year or so. And you're right. I think locally people don't know and understand what Pennington can do, and I'm still learning myself. It is internationally known for the areas of research that it does, and in that space it is well known from that industry. So we want to. It's the whole goal is to take that and capitalize on that asset and use it for recruiting purposes.
Now, we move from recruiting purpose and dreaming big based off what comes out of the research at Pennington to the day-to-day operations. So it was a couple weeks ago, I guess, big announcement was made that Mary Bird Perkins is teaming up with One Oncology. What does that mean for the landscape of healthcare in Baton Rouge? Is that going to, from BRAC's standpoint, is there any follow-up needs to be done to make sure we're capitalizing on the number of jobs that can come to town because of an announcement like that?
Yeah, look, the way we're looking at the sector development, there competitive things are going to happen in the health district and of the hospitals and the organizations involved in that industry. What we're trying to do is bring companies and opportunities to that sector that will help grow the sector in totality, I guess, to say, but not necessarily bring something that would offer, that would make them compete against one another. But what we're trying to do is help them build where they are and grow that sector overall.
Fair enough. You mentioned that this we're about midway through. You said a 5-year plan, I believe.
Yeah. So in terms of the 5-year plan, that's, like I said, this is just part of putting that plan together, laying out where we're going to go with the life sciences and healthcare district to kind of go in that direction, using these grants like the health district has secured, as well as look at other grants and partners. We're going to be working with the existing companies moving forward here to understand their capacities, which could also help recruit additional companies. We go to those companies and we ask them, what other companies being here would help them grow, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a chemical manufacturer that may be in that space. So we're looking at all these different companies and organizations to understand where we might grow them.
How has COVID affected this plan? I mean, if we're halfway through a 5-year plan, obviously the plan started before COVID, and the healthcare sector especially had to focus in on the current pandemic. Has this derailed, or not derailed, but postponed any plans?
Actually, yeah, you're right. I mean, what COVID did was just kind of accelerate and bring focus to life sciences, to healthcare, particularly with telehealth that you see.
Yeah.
It's all changing so fast, particularly as technology applies to it. And we've seen other communities are doing the same thing. They have pivoted. They've I know a couple of these other communities that we benchmarked against did the same thing we did. They may have been based. They may have other types of industry sectors that were kind of their bread and butter, like ours is energy, chemicals. But they've also looked at this and said, okay, how can we take the assets that we have and grow our healthcare life sciences sector? So, and all that, I think, came out of COVID in terms of accelerating those efforts.
I was just guessing here, but I would imagine that all the underlying health conditions and comorbidities that we've seen that have been exacerbated because of COVID, or the negative effects of COVID are exacerbated because of those conditions. All those things affect people in our own backyard, and all those things are their concepts or problems that Pennington's touched on in the past. I would imagine it would bring Baton Rouge especially more to the forefront.
Yeah, I think those types of researches and the things that they're doing there can help bring us into the top of those conversations. And like I said, really the key thing is getting the word out that is taking place here in Baton Rouge, those types of things. So that, if the research that's being done there can be an asset for a company that's working on some type of technology or working on some type of its own to apply to some research project, it's really just connecting those dots and helping connect with one another to seek those opportunities.
Got about 90 seconds left with Russell Richardson, Senior Vice President of Business Development for the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Russell, this has been all healthcare. We didn't get to anything else that we were supposed to cover. Can you give me 60 seconds on the expansion of Coca-Cola so we can know where we're at?
Yeah, that's going to be a great expansion. $42 million, 15 new jobs. It's going to support the 550 jobs. The company's been here 115 years. I think it'll take their square footage up to 900,000 square feet. They'll be adding 120,000, I think. So really great project. They've got about 50 facilities in the U.S. Gulf South, so they're looking to increase that capacity at that bottling facility there, as well as update the technology there and the equipment to better serve the market. So it'll be going through, I think, some of the approval processes through the property tax exemption over the next 30, 60 days. So great project to look out for and get that win over the next couple of months there.
We got to get you back on real soon. We're just straight up out of time today. We got to get you back on soon. Look forward to the fourth quarter, and Amazon's about to explode everywhere in town. So, but we'll set that up in the near future. He is Russell Richardson, Senior Vice President of Business Development for the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. Thank you so much for hopping on today.
Thank you, Brian. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir. I mean, healthcare kind of took that one over. As expected, though. So much growth and so much potential growth as well. I appreciate Russell's time. All right, Let's get you to CBS News. When we come back from the news, traffic, and weather, we're going to check in on West Feliciana Parish next. Havard. Yeah. Oh, also from yesterday, Stephen Wagasback is spelled Stephen. I already did. Don't worry about it.
Who does he represent?
Kenny Havard. He's the West Feliciana Parish president. Yeah.
Feliciana, is that Feliciana?
Yes. I don't know if we're calling him. Let me give his number. I'm going to go ahead and do Mooyah if you can get him on the phone while I'm doing Mooyah. 737 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. More with Brian Haldane rolling right along. West Feliciana Parish President Kenny Havard going to hop on board in just a minute. Before we get to Kenny, though, what you doing for lunch today? Can I interest you in a burger? Can I interest you in a burger from Mooyah? 2 locations. Segan, just north of Industrialplex, Blue Bonnet at Highland Road. They do it a little different at Mooyah. They make sure they're taking the time to do it right. Cutting your vegetables fresh every single day, baking the buns fresh every single day, and, of course, using top-notch, top-quality ingredients like certified Angus beef throughout. When it comes to the burgers, you're going to find just unbelievable flavor to your liking. They've got over a dozen burgers on the menu that are there for you to pick from, or, and then there's this, if you don't see the burger on the menu that is to your liking, you can build your own. At either location of Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes, either, like I said, Segan, just north of Industrialplex, or Blue Bonnet at Highland. And don't forget the Shake of the Month, I believe. Yeah, well, we're still in September, so the Texas Pecan Shake is still available. Of course, you know October is going to bring pumpkin spice. It was inevitable. I haven't tried it yet. Got to get by there and get me another milkshake. It's going to be hard to beat that Texas Pecan Shake, to be sure. Anyway, both locations, Segan Industrialplex or Blue Bonnet at just past Highland Road for Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. All right, time to check in up in West Feliciana Parish. Parish President Kenny Havard has been on with us a couple times to talk about COVID throughout the pandemic. They've been handling things well. When you look at the changes in the pandemic from the beginning till now, Kenny's back on with us. Kenny, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. So the CDC now has your parish showing up on the list of parishes that are getting clear of the fourth surge.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate up here. You know, people got out and they've got their vaccine, so most of the parishes vaccinated, and it's been a wild ride. I'll say that. You know, but we've been very, very fortunate, and can't say enough about the citizens and what they've done, and it's been a group effort, put it that way, community effort for sure.
It has been, but West Feliciana is kind of in a weird spot because the early stages of the pandemic, it was all about congregate settings, and y'all kept getting hit for high rates of COVID because of what was going on behind the walls in the prison, not necessarily the rest of the parish, and yet even that has been gotten under control since then.
Yeah, they put a lot of restrictions in place at Angola. They quit letting people go in and out, you know, vendors, et cetera, and started really pushing their employees, you know, to get vaccinated or at least put some safety precautions up. So they've done a pretty good job, you know, handling that. And I think, you know, I mean, no one knows, you know, but it's my opinion. I think, you know, they've reached herd immunity up there. You know, it ran through the place. Everyone had it at one time, you know, just about.
Yeah, and until it mutates or another variant comes out, that's kind of the way it's going to be. Although the Delta variant kind of threw everybody for a curveball. Meanwhile, though, vaccines come out, and as they opened up to everybody, West Feliciana Parish was pacing well ahead of everybody else. Are y'all still keeping up that pace?
Yeah, I think last I saw, which was a few days ago, we were something like 89% of our eligible population has been vaccinated.
What's been different about West Feliciana than other parishes? Why are y'all getting this response?
You know, I don't know. I think it's because we never enforced, you know, really any mandates. We let the business decide what they wanted to do. We did spread the chairs out a little bit, spread things out, and you know, got down to probably, I would say, at least minimum 50% occupancy. Mm-hmm. And so we stayed open, and we didn't badger people about masks. We didn't tell from the government. People have a distrust for government, and I don't blame them because, you know, we go out there, you know, look, I sprayed Clorox on my parents' food, you know, for 6 weeks or longer, bringing them, shopping them for, you know, shopping for them because we thought that, you know, it spread through touch, it spread through, you know, contact, trace, you know, all of that stuff, listening to, you know, people tell us this stuff, and it never was true, you know. It looked to me like airborne. So there's a distrust for government, not just COVID, but leading up to COVID. And every time that we go on the news and we tell them, there's this big, huge hurricane coming that's going to wipe everybody out, and everybody runs to Walmart, and then we get, an inch of rain.
Yeah.
All stories now are sensationalized. So what we did, we tried to tamp it down. It was a bad thing. It killed some people, and one person is too many. I've had some friends of mine that have died, an uncle last week. But we let people make their own decisions. And I believe in the end, everybody will make the decision that's best for their family. They don't need government to tell you how to live your life, how to raise your kids, what to eat. Let people do it, and they'll make the right decision. That's what we did, and I think we proved a point that that's how America should operate.
Minor point of clarification before you get misquoted. West Feliciana Parish President Kenny Havard on with us. Minor point of clarification. You sprayed the packaging with bleach, correct?
I did.
Okay.
Yes, I sprayed
the way you said it, sprayed my parents' food.
I sprayed their apples.
You know somebody's going to run with that, man.
I know. They got real good insurance.
It's amazing what happens. And you're right. And it's not necessarily something nefarious that the government's up to. It's just if you're running with the best information you had at a time where information is going to change, the appearance is that all the information is in and the best decisions being made when that's not the case. Everybody's making calls on the fly here. So what makes one entity that much smarter than the rest?
I just think that, one, we are rural and we're spread out. Yeah. We're not on top of one another. We have a couple grocery stores, so we were able to manage. We knew everybody shopped in those grocery stores. So immediately, as soon as Trump shut down the country, we kind of shut down the grocery stores and said, okay, only 25 people in. And we have hand wash sanitizer stations because we could put one at every location. And those are things that we did and how we operated. We took safety precautions, but we didn't badger people and make them back in a corner and say, you're not putting that needle in my arm, or I'm not wearing a damn mask. When they walked in the store and they saw 90% of the people with masks, sometimes they said, you know what, well, I'll go back to the car, I'll get a mask. But if you tell people you have to do something, you know how men are. They're going to back in a corner and they're going to say no, and it doesn't matter. They're not going to budge for anything. And we did not do that. And in the end, people decided, look, I'm going to get a vaccine for you, baby, or for the kids, or whatever. And they did it. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the secret.
So that
we made it readily available for everyone.
Yes.
I mean, everyone knew. We were one of the first parishes that was approved for our vaccine rollout. Months before, we were ready to go. We submitted it, and it was, accepted through the LDH and the governor's office, et cetera. We were one of the first. So we were ready to go. But when you're a small community, you can do some of those things that a larger community can't. You can do outreach. You can get, our council on aging buses ran, picking people up and bringing them and getting their shots if they wanted them. All of those things we could do. And that's something that we're fighting now. Do we grow? Do we not grow? Everybody, has to grow, but we think that we can stay small and be very good at it. We want to live off of sales tax dollars here, not a bunch of rooftops in West Louisiana. So those are things, because, hey, it looks like we're going to be dealing with this kind of stuff for a long time to come. And we want to make sure that we're ahead of the curve and we're ready to protect West Feliciana residents.
West Feliciana Parish President Kenny Havard's our guest. So, Kenny, I got to ask it this way. Is the model that you set forth in West Feliciana applicable to other parishes? Because you are a little bit more rural of a parish. You do have, you got some space in between y'all. Is what y'all are doing applicable elsewhere? Would it work in, say, a Livingston, an Ascension, and East Baton Rouge?
Well, I think it would have had. Now, there would have been some people that had gotten sick, and we would have lost some lives. And we're gonna do that anyway. What the mask did early on, or what I think it did by locking down the country, and I think it was the right thing to do at some point, but for a little while. But they went overboard with it. I think we should have let this thing run on through, and everyone would have been probably infected by it, and the majority of the people would have been okay in the end. We would have lost lives. There's no doubt about it. But we lost those anyway. But what it does, all a vaccine does is get you faster to herd immunity. Once we started locking down, putting on masks, and all of those things, and forcing the whole world to not get out and kind of be exposed and let your natural immune system work, we prolonged this thing. I think had we, and I actually think it ran through West Feliciana early on.
It did.
Because in early February of the year that it started, my grandmother-in-law got very, very sick. They didn't know what COVID was, but she had blood clots in her lungs. They called in the family, all of this stuff. And a few days later, she was okay. And I was sick at the same time. I couldn't bring my garbage can to the road because I could not catch my breath. And I think it ran, and a lot of people were sick up here. I think that it ran through our community early when we reached herd immunity before it.
Governor's going to announce today whether or not he's extending the mask mandate. Is that going to affect any kind of business in West Feliciana?
No. Look, I do applaud the governor. He and I have had some disagreements over how to handle this, but he was given the same information I was given, and it scared the heck out of you when they're telling you, you're going to have 5 million people dead, all of these things. So he had to listen. He just maybe believed them more than I did, or trusted them more. But I just think that if you allow people to make their decisions, they will make the right ones. And I think that's what he should do. I think it's time we get back to some normalcy. Let's move on, and let's, get down the road, opening up our communities and our in Louisiana back open. If people don't want to come, they don't have to come. But that, I think they will. People are ready to get out and spend money and do some things. We just had a rodeo up here, kids rodeo this past weekend. Mm-hmm. It was packed with people. It was great to see people out and about, just getting some fresh air and enjoying life rather than locked up in the house staring at a TV screen. Most of them are watching CNN or Fox News, and it's nothing but bad news on there. They pit people against one another. And I think it's time that we bring people together and let's start having fun again.
Well, and we will get an example of that right here in East Baton Rouge Parish when Auburn comes to town this weekend. Get to see a crowd come together. In the meanwhile, the blueprint in West Feliciana is literally showing up on the map when it comes to the CDC and transmission rates. That's why I wanted to get you on this morning to talk about it a little bit. West Feliciana Parish President Kenny Havard, we're just straight up out of time, man. Thank you so much for hopping on board.
Appreciate you, Brian. Thank you.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon. And, yeah, I don't know, can what he's doing there translate elsewhere? He's in a weird spot because it's more of a rural community. Same time, Angola. So you had those problems early on that were being attributed to the rest of the parish. Well, he was hot then, too. You're arresting people in New Orleans and then bringing them up to West Feliciana? Yeah. Anyway, go look at a CDC county-by-county map, and, there are maybe three parishes throughout the state that show up, and he's one of them. All right, quick break. Checking traffic next. Perfect. Okay. I did Mooyah while you were getting him on the phone. Oh, hey, I need you to correct another spelling from yesterday. The author about the Capitol, mornings, is misspelled. I heard that too. And someone was going to pick that up and be like, he's spraying food with bleach. No, he's not spraying food with bleach. He's spraying the packaging with bleach. Although he might have doubled down by saying he sprayed apples.
Yeah, that. The mental image of
But-
someone just having a bowl of cereal and just bringing each other.
Yeah. But it's what he was talking about is all the misinformation that was out there originally.
Spraying apples.
Spraying my parents' food with Clorox. I have a different marinade recipe, but okay.
The look we gave each other was just like, serious?
I have a feeling he's going to run for governor. Yeah, he went from the state legislature to being a parish president. This would be a logical next step for him, but I don't know if you're coming from West Feliciana, if you got enough run statewide. It's different on every level. Yeah, there for U.S. Congress, no. U.S. Senate, no. President, 2 terms. Locally, for our state House, I want to say it's 3 terms on both sides.
How long is each term?
2 on the House side, I think 4 on the Senate. Only 2 consecutive terms as governor. Now you can go 2 consecutive terms and then take a term off and then run for governor again. But yeah, 2 consecutive for governor.
I'm not the most, well, I mean, I know a little bit about how government works, but I don't know. As far as what I like spending my free time on, politics and government spending isn't exactly high on my list.
Yeah.
Important, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
As far as my girlfriend's very much into that. She wants to be a lawyer, so I kind of let her take that and update me with what I need to know.
Mm-hmm. .755 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Got CBS News coming your way about 4.5 minutes from right now. Thanks again to West Feliciana Parish President Kenny Havard for hopping on board. Always good to step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish once in a while to check in on the surrounding area, which is actually what we do in this segment. We call it the outside in. Let's go. Livingston Parish. Parish President Leighton Ricks said waterways in the parish will be open as of this morning. Ricks closed the waterways after Hurricane Ida due to debris in the water and said the areas are still not clear. He does ask that boaters be mindful of those areas that may pose a threat to your safety and recommend that you travel at idling speeds when necessary. Keeping it in Livingston Parish. A married man is accused of arranging sex with a 15-year-old girl on social media who turned out to be an undercover detective. East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office said 55-year-old Dean Ogman first contacted the fake account back on August 4th. Before attempting to make arrangements in person, Ogman allegedly sent messages to whom he believed was a young girl, tried to make sure the account was genuine. In those messages, he said he was trying to avoid cops and described a number of the acts he wanted to engage in. After more than a month of messaging back and forth, Ogman was arrested on September 27th for indecent behavior with a minor and computer-aided solicitation of a minor. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell is asking all members of Mardi Gras crews to get vaccinated before getting on a float. WWL-TV reported that Cantrell sent an email to the Mardi Gras Advisory Council encouraging the leaders to get their crews fully vaccinated, which makes total sense since, you know, the crew members are up on the floats and removed from the parade goers. It's 50 guys up on a float, thousands on the ground. Who needs to get vaccinated here? Oh, the 50 up on the float, please. Over to Ascension Parish, WAFB is reporting several people showed up to protest outside the Ascension Parish courthouse yesterday. The action came just days after Parish President Clint Quinmall received a letter from Dempsey Lambert, the chairman of the East Ascension Gravity Drainage District. The letter stated that Quinmall would be terminated as head of the Drainage Board in 60 days. There were a number of protests yesterday as a result, but of other council members. One more before we get out of here. St. John the Baptist Parish President Jacqueline Hotard has announced that all September water bills, including water, sewage, garbage, ambulance, and mosquito monthly fees, will be waived for the month of September due to Hurricane Ida operational damage. Residential water customers will not receive a September bill, but may receive or have already received a bill prior to September. If you receive a water bill for prior dates, please be assured your next water bill will be waived. That is the Outside In presented by BRPT Lake. We've got CBS News coming your way in just a little bit. Before we get you to CBS News, though, got to tell you about the folks over at Go Slim Nutrition. There are a million diets out there, probably more. You can get diet food anywhere you want. But there's dieting, and then there's adopting a healthier lifestyle. And that's where Go Slim makes a difference. Yeah, they got the bars and the shakes and the pre-prepared meals and the suggested recipes and everything else that you'll find on another diet. But what they've got going on is accountability. Is going over there every single week, weighing in, sitting down, talk about what you've done right, what you've done wrong, how you can do better. I call it food confession. And it works. I'm down more than 50 pounds so far. I've got less than 10 pounds to go to my goal weight. You could be on that path too. GEAUXSlimBR.com. Sorry, I didn't address what Stanley had to say. Stanley says, so he's saying let the virus spread. Doesn't make sense with loss of lives are possible. Well, loss of lives are always possible. And what we're seeing is basically he's saying lockdowns are like a prevent defense. You don't win running a prevent defense. All right.
Those fall conditions were nice while they lasted, but there's still some summer left in the tank. Tuesday is set to be gloomy and muggy with thick cloud cover for most of the day. Temperatures will max out in the low to mid 80s. Showers will be in and out all day long, but most of the activity will be in the afternoon. Grab your umbrella and keep it close by for the next few days. Overnight temperatures will be in the low to mid 70s. Another rainy day is on deck for Wednesday. Temperatures maxing out in the low 80s with scattered showers and storms all day. Keep heavy outdoors and localized street flooding will be possible.
.806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Hour 3 of mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Jake producing. Thanks again to all the guests both the guests who have stepped on board today. Russell Richardson with the Baton Rouge Area Chamber and Kenny Havard, West Feliciana Parish President, talking about growing that healthcare sector with Russell. That was a very intriguing conversation and really just scratching the surface. We're going to get into that even deeper in future interviews as well as. If it looks like things are exploding in Baton Rouge in the healthcare sector, it's only because they are. So, thanks again to Russell for stopping by, and also to Kenny Havard. West Feliciana Parish, is looking good and continues to do so. This hour, we're going to talk with the Gulf Coast Brotherhood ride. We are also going to talk with Congressman Troy Carter. Both of those conversations will happen later in the hour. We lead the hour, though, with This Day in History. Go ahead, Jake.
We're going to start things off a long time ago, all the way back in 48 BC.
That's a long time ago.
That's about around when you were around. Pompey the Great is assassinated on orders of King Ptolemy of Egypt after landing in Egypt. Just intrigued me because I thought to myself,
landing?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, like, when was the first assassin hitman job carried out?
And what'd you find out?
I don't know.
Oh.
That's just a question I have for the audience. If you guys know, let us know. I'll have to do some research
afterwards. You can't
afterwards.
just throw that out there and then not have the answer.
No, come on. Let's get some user involvement here.
That's all right.
Come on. It's normal in my generation.
I'm stuck on landing. Where did he fly in from in 48
Hey,
BC?
it could have been a boat. There's a river in Egypt somewhere.
There is.
I'm joking. I know that. 1701. Don't know. Divorce legalized in Maryland.
Awesome.
1904. Woman arrested for smoking a cigarette in a car on 5th Avenue, New York City.
Okay.
1930. Lou Gehrig's errorless streak ends at 885 consecutive games. 1956. Johnny Carson Show, TV variety, last airs on CBS TV.
Wait, you skipped 1920?
I did.
All right.
What happened in 1920?
That was on this day in 1920, a Chicago grand jury indicted 8 members of the Chicago White Sox on charges of fixing the 1919 World Series known as the Black Sox Scandal.
Eesh. Yikes. That happened about 100 years ago.
101.
About is what I said. Come on now. All right, the next thing we have, it's a doubleheader. This happened on the same day, on the same year, 1968. Alberto Giuliani of Italy roller skates a record of 23.133 miles in 1 hour. Don't know how he did it. Also the same day, same year, Beatles' Hey Jude single goes #1 and stays #1 for 9 weeks. That gets us to 1978. Metal rock band Black Sabbath released their 8th album, Never Say Die, the last to feature Ozzy Osbourne before he was fired. 1987. Star Trek The Next Generation, starring Patrick Stewart, debuts on syndicated TV.
Okay.
Not much of a Star Trek guy. We talked about this pretty early on.
Yeah.
This one surprised me. 2008. SpaceX launches their first ever private spacecraft, the Falcon 1, into orbit.
Good for them.
2008.
And look where we're at, 13 years later.
It's a lot of
sending everybody up there.
A lot of advancements.
I hear
happening.
Shatner's going up next.
Really?
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. People are weird. That's something they'd do. That's going to include the events. We'll get right to the birthdays. First up, Disney Channel, where we at? Hillary Duff turns 34. Happy birthday to her. We have Seattle Seahawks wide receiver Tyler Lockett turning 28 years old. And this is a soccer one for me. I know you don't really care for much for the beautiful game. But Man City penalty legend Willie Caballero turns 39. Happy birthday to the big man.
It's fantastic. Hey, best I can find on short notice, because, I didn't know this was happening until a minute ago, the original Order of the Assassins was like AD. So having someone killed before that wasn't called an assassination. Yeah, like around 1050 AD was when you saw the beginning of the quote-unquote assassins. Also, it's Steve Largent's birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, Hall of Fame Seahawks wide receiver Steve Largent. Also, and I like to keep it local.
Yes, you do.
Marcus Spears.
Yes. Happy birthday to Marcus
There you
Spears. No deaths from my end. Couldn't find any. Holidays. We'll get right into that. First, Ask a Stupid Question Day.
All right. I mean, odds are I'm going to at some point.
Brian, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Mine's green.
There you go.
National Drink Beer Day. I'm sure pretty much everybody listening can get behind that to some extent. Next up, we have National Good Neighbor Day. And the last holiday I have, National Neighbor Day.
National Neighbor Day and National Good Neighbor Day.
Yes, so you can tell someone, hey, happy National Neighbor Day.
Okay.
But to your favorite people, you could say Good Neighbor Day.
There you go.
They'll never know the difference. And that'll conclude it for this day in history.
812 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We are due up for a break. When we come back, let's talk about the Gulf Coast Brotherhood ride. It's on its way, and you can help. We're talking about it next. Yep. Thanks for flip-flopping coming down here first. No problem. That's, Nothing much. How you been, man? Good. I'm moving over to 2, by the way. Jake, I'm moving over to 2.
For reasons unknown, Taylor here has joined us.
No problem with that. Nothing
My
wrong with
agency
that.
doesn't want me to, they'd rather me say I'm a first responder, not employed with state
Okay.
police. It's like they're ashamed of me or something.
Okay. Seriously?
I swear.
I apologize. I know y'all were in last year. Your names again?
Craig Russell.
Craig and
Adam Alford. Yeah.
So first responder
Right.
and Craig, or what am I calling you?
I'm with BRPD. Or you could say I was. I didn't ask him if I could talk. Let's just say with the Gulf Coast Brotherhood ride.
Okay.
If that'll.
Yeah.
I guess. I can't believe you got to worry about the simplest of things.
You saw that text, Tom, that I sent
This morning? Part of it. Do you have anything that we need to update you on?
Not that I know of.
All right.
Put our mission goal this year's length, honor first responders, and then how to donate. Really just the gist of it.
Yeah, I just brought this to jog my memory. I don't think I need any of this. I just grabbed that folder. It's also got my Walmart list in it. Whenever and my to-do list. Look, this is my to-do list right here. I got to go visit Baton Rouge, Walmart, the doctor, radio station. I need to eat lunch. I got a Zoom meeting.
You wrote down that you need to eat lunch.
Yeah.
All right.
Busy man.
Gotta put it in there. If not, it'll be 2 o'clock.
It happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
I'm not at work today, so my schedule's out of
Right.
whack.
8:15, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Getting to be about that time for the Gulf Coast Brotherhood ride. Want to welcome in Craig Russell and Adam Alford with the Gulf Coast Brotherhood ride. Gentlemen, welcome back. How are you?
Right now, we're doing great.
What do you mean right now you're doing great? You're doing great overall, man.
We're preparing to do 525 miles over 6 days, starting in about a week, and then that response may change.
So 525 miles over the course of a week. Yeah, we'll get back around to the distance in a little bit. Can we rewind all the way back to what the Gulf Coast Brotherhood ride is, how it came to be, and who y'all serve?
Yeah, we're a group of first responders from the Gulf Coast region, and we came together in order to honor first responders who have passed away or died in the line of duty throughout the Gulf Coast region.
What made the ride the appealing part here? What made this the focus of that honoring them?
Craig got me on that one. He's been cycling way longer than me, and I kind of, since we worked together a few years back, we kind of paired up, and then he decided he wanted to spearhead this thing and get it going, and since then we've been rolling strong. This will be our 3rd year. Yep.
Yeah.
How big is it? How many guys are riding?
Right now, we have a team of about 28.
Okay.
We've lost a couple riders due to different circumstances, transfers, job assignments, manpower requirements, everything going on. But we'll have a team of about 45 altogether, riders in support.
Okay.
On bicycles, moving across 3 states.
500 plus miles. Let's walk us through how this lays out, because it lays out over 5 or 6 days, you said.
6 days. Yes,
so what's the schedule look like? How regimented or how grueling is the schedule?
The schedule changes depending on who we're riding for, because we base the entire ride off of who we're honoring. Fallen first responders somewhere along the Gulf Coast to honor what they've done to serve their community and to remind their families they haven't been forgotten. So that, and then trying to find places to stay. So our first day is 106 miles. We start in Orange Beach, Alabama at the wharf.
Okay.
And we start heading north, making some honor stops, and we end in Lucedale, Mississippi.
Where's Lucedale, Mississippi?
North west of Mobile.
Okay.
And it sounds like a great place. We're getting a lot of support out of Lucedale.
Starting off at the wharf in Alabama, and then obviously making your way back towards here. So you go day 1 to day 2. Day 2, I would assume, stays in Mississippi the whole time?
Yes, sir. Up to Hattiesburg and down to Purvis, Mississippi.
Okay. And then day 3?
We're going from Purvis to Slidell.
Okay. Why Slidell? Just a good stopping point?
We stopped in Slidell last year. We got and made some contacts there on an honor stop. and our route had us looking for some place to stay, and so we made it to Slidell.
After Slidell, where's next?
We go through down to Gretna, and then Gretna to Kenner.
Okay. And then I would assume from Kenner back home or
To
back
Baton
here
Rouge.
on the last day.
No, sir.
Oh.
And then from Baton Rouge to Alexandria, 115 miles on the last day.
Wow. I mean, that finishes it up pretty strong all the way up to Alexandria.
We tried to get Alexandria moved a little closer, but it didn't work out.
Hey, you know what, though? Hey, might as well, right? You're out there. How much training goes into this? Do y'all have to prepare year-round to be ready for this, or is this something that's just part of the natural, the natural workout regimen has you ready?
A lot of us do a lot of bicycling on weekends or whenever we get time off. There's a lot of guys that do other training programs, CrossFit, and it's mainly anything you can do to keep your legs moving.
Yeah,
really. Stair climbs. It varies, Most probably half the people though are just sticking to bikes,
Yeah,
just sticking to cycling.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, that's what you're going to be doing.
Right,
so
right.
No, it works out in that regard. Now, when you're not riding, you're during the ride, but you're not riding. What goes on there? What happens at the honor stops? What happens like in the intermissions?
We have it depends on what the stop is for. So if we go into an honor stop about a mile out, the cyclist will pull over, change out of their bike helmets. It may just be a half mile, and they will put on a uniform helmet, a fire helmet, a ball cap, a dress hat as a sign of honor, and then we slow right into the place that we're going to have the honor stop. It may be at a memorial. It's maybe at a town center. It may be at a public park under a tree.
Okay.
And there it's informal. Obviously, you have a team of 30 riders in spandex, so it's hard to get real formal in spandex. But we explain to the families and the friends, the co-workers, the community, where we come from, why we ride, and show our respects to them for what they've been through. We know that riding our bikes, it may be difficult for us. It may take something out of us, but it's temporary.
Right.
And they've paid a greater price, and so we're there to honor that.
I would imagine that presence within, as you see that last mile approaching, that presence has got to be pretty overwhelming for the families that are involved. How do you decide where the honor stops are? Is it just, are y'all able to cover everyone within that region or everyone within that town?
We're not even close.
Wow.
We're not even close. The stops are just selected throughout the year. This year, we have some things that just took our Hattiesburg lost 2 officers.
Okay.
St. John lost parish a few years back, lost 2 officers, and then we're going up to Alexandria where they lost 2 officers, David and Jay Caruth, some years back, and we can't get to them all, right, but we want to get to as many as we can.
So I would imagine the route changes from year to year. If the stops are changing from year to year and the officers you're honoring change from year to year, that would mean this isn't something that's etched in stone that you're never going to do the same one twice.
Not the same route.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate, but we've stopped at the same police station or fire station more than once.
That's got to be rough.
That's rough, but we can't let these families think that they've been forgotten.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so for those who are unfamiliar with the process, you guys can lean on a little bit of help. How can folks help?
We are raising money. We have a GoFundMe account set up on our Facebook page, Gulf Coast Brotherhood Ride. We also have a link to that on our webpage, GulfCoastBrotherhoodRide.com. 100% of all money raised through that platform is divided amongst the families we're riding for. So everything the riders go out and solicit, 100% guaranteed of that money is divided amongst the families. Our ride is paid for through sponsorship. This year we were lucky enough to have the Louisiana Wildlife Agents Association. Okay. They were the first one on board, and they said they wanted to help sponsor in the cost of putting on the ride. We had CRC and CDM out of Kenner, another company that came on board with us, Morrow Physical Therapy, and a couple of those that came on to covered a limited cost. That's also covered through donations. But the GoFundMe page, 100% of that money is divided amongst the families.
That's pretty cool. And the number of families that are involved, does that change every year as well,
Yes.
or do you have a limit that you stop at?
Yes, sir. We're hoping for the year when it's 0.
Of course.
But the last 2 years it's been 12. This year it was 15. We passed through some places and we couldn't. We had to make that stop. Again, we could ride all day, especially when you cross 3 states: Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama.
Let's talk about those 3 states. Do y'all have representatives from all 3 states that are riding with you, or is it all Louisiana dudes that are doing the ride?
There's people from all over, mainly southeast part of the United States, people from Kentucky, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana.
We got a South Carolina rider coming in. We have Florida. We have riders from Alabama. A group from Kentucky Brotherhood rider are driving down, 5 or 6 of them. And then Louisiana. We're still looking for some riders out of Mississippi. We thought we had some to join the team this year, and it didn't work out. So we're hoping maybe we can get them on board next year.
Are there other rides like this around the country? I mean, did y'all base this off of something that was somewhere else, or was this idea unique?
There's similar concepts. We do work well with the Texas Brotherhood ride. They just did a 16-day ride from Houston to Colorado Springs. The Kentucky Brotherhood ride, I went and participated in that, a 4-day ride. 400 miles through the, they say hills that look like mountains to me in Kentucky. That humbled me.
I mean, to be fair, when you're from Louisiana, everything else looks like mountains.
That's what I tried to explain.
When's this going down? When do y'all start?
We start this Sunday, October 3rd, Orange Beach, Alabama. And then we will head out from there.
And going for basically the full week long, which means if you're not starting until this Sunday, there's still plenty of time for folks to help out, should they so choose to help out. Give the information one more time as to where can folks go.
On our Facebook page, Gulf Coast Brotherhood Ride, or on our website, GulfCoastBrotherhoodRide.com, or you can email us if you have any questions at GulfCoastBrotherhoodRide@gmail.com.
What's response been like in the past? I mean, how many folks really step up at a time like this to help out?
Our response has been tremendous, but right now our community is still recovering from Ida. So a lot of resources are going in out. A lot of people are just trying to take care of their houses. So we understand that. We're still going to push forward with our mission and know that our donations are down right now. The pandemic, the recent hurricane. So we're aware of life's events, but we're not going to let these families go unforgotten.
Is there any correlation between whether or not any of the fallen first responders garnered a lot of headlines as to whether or not people, because sometimes news stories are bigger than other news stories, and if they're in a bigger location, a bigger city, does that trigger more people to remember? Oh yes, I should probably help out with this.
Yes, I do think in some cases that's the case. What we know is the pain is the same, whether it's a large city, a large incident, or it's a small rural town that nobody's ever heard of. So it varies, but they're all extremely important to us.
Y'all get started Sunday morning. One more time before we get out of here. The website, the Facebook page one more time is?
The Gulf Coast Brotherhood Ride.
Gulf Coast Brotherhood Ride on Facebook. We will put the link to that in the article when we post this on demand to make sure we can redirect people over there immediately. In the meanwhile, guys, it's huge every year, and it sounds Baton Rouge to Alexandria stretch sounds daunting to say the least, especially in the last day. Craig Russell, Adam Alford, thank you so much for hopping on board today.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely, thank y'all. We have got a couple more minutes before we meet CBS News here at the bottom of the hour. I do have to tell you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. They've got 2 locations. One is on Florida Boulevard, 4065 Florida Boulevard in Mid-City. One is on Jefferson Highway at Hoosier 2. 18181 Jefferson Highway is the technical address, but just remember the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. If you're not sleeping well at night, it could be because of your mattress. Swing on by the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet and just test drive them. Go for the full Goldilocks scenario. Find the one that's just right for you. You're looking for a cooling gel mattress, which is actually back in play now that cool front looks like it's passed through? Yeah, maybe. How about a hybrid mattress? Or, and I can't stress this enough, if you've not yet tried out an adjustable base, you have no idea what you're missing. Elevating the top of your body to stop from snoring, elevating your feet for when you need to elevate your feet. It is truly a game changer for so many people when it comes to getting a good night's sleep. And Mitch Kimball and his team have them over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Plus, they've got a number of deals going on right now. Look, Labor Day is long since passed, but the deals remain at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Also, mention you heard about it right here. You will get free delivery at both locations, 4065 Florida Boulevard or 18181 Jefferson Highway for the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. All right, recapping where we're at. Congressman Troy Carter is going to join us in the next segment. We are a couple days away, if nothing gets done in the U.S. Capitol, if nothing gets done in Congress, we're a couple days away from a potential governmental shutdown. Is that really in the cards? Or is this just a lot of posturing 3 days out, and then we'll see less posturing 2 days out, and then at the 11th hour, oh my goodness, we all came together and signed off on the best deal ever? How's this going to play out? We're talking with Congressman Troy Carter next. Also, before we get out of here this morning, got to touch on the Mississippi River Bridge topic. There are plans for a new bridge underway. If you're anything like me, you're hard-pressed to buy in. I mean, we are Charlie Brown. The new Mississippi River Bridge is Lucy with the football. We always buy in. You're not going to move the football. You let me kick that football. And then, boom, it's gone, and we fall on our butts every single time. Going to talk about that. Going to talk with Congressman Troy Carter about the infrastructure package as well, and a whole lot more all coming your way. Oh, also, before we get out of here this morning, want to remind you one more time, Governor John Bel Edwards will be addressing the media at 1 p.m. today. The mask mandate expires tomorrow. Governor John Bel Edwards will be talking about COVID-19. He will be talking about Hurricane Ida recovery. So one can only assume we're going to hear at 1 o'clock today whether or not the mask mandate is carrying over for another month or so. All right, let's get you to CBS News. We'll check our local news after that. We will, of course, check traffic and weather as well, right here on Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk. All right, gentlemen. Excellent. Yeah, very good job. Very good job. It's they're going to go down to the wharf, and they're going to actively leave the wharf. I mean, my thing is, if I'm going to get the wharf earlier in the day, I'm going to be drunk later in the day. That's all there is to that. I'm not hopping on a bicycle. I'll hop on a bicycle the next day. Yeah, we're starting at the wharf. You going to leave there? I got to run downstairs very, very quickly. I'll be right back.
Tiffany, I just saw your comment. Yes, I do have sass. Thank you.
All right. Congressman Troy Carter. He's supposed to call us. I don't have his phone number. Okay. Not yet.
Talk 107.3. Morning, sir. How are you doing? Doing well, thank you. We're about to be concluding our break and we'll be live shortly. Will you be ready for us? Wonderful. We'll get you in momentarily. Please hold. Thank you.
Those fall conditions were nice while they lasted, but there's still some summer left in the tank. Tuesday is set to be gloomy and muggy with thick cloud cover for most of the day. Temperatures will max out in the low to mid 80s. Showers will be in and out all day long, but most of the activity will be in the afternoon. Grab your umbrella and keep it close by for the next few days. Overnight temperatures will be in the low to mid 70s. Another rainy day is on deck for Wednesday. Temperatures maxing out in the low 80s with scattered showers and storms all day. Few heavy downpours and localized street flooding will be possible.
8:38. Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Time to check in with our 2nd Congressional District Congressman, Troy Carter. He joins us every week and joins us right now. Congressman Carter, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Brian. How are you?
I am doing very well. I'm not to the point where I'm worried just yet. When I see it's 3 days till the government shuts down, I don't sweat that. When I see 2 days till the government shuts down, I don't sweat that. It always comes through in the 11th hour. So I'm not worried just yet. How are things going right now? How are talks?
Well, communication continues to go back and forth. Everyone is passionate. But I think the one thing that we all should keep in the forefront of our minds is we have to be responsible. And we have to maintain the full faith and credit of the United States.
We do.
We've got to pay our bills. So regardless of our ideological and philosophical differences, one of the fundamental principles of our government, of Congress, is to make sure that we maintain the full faith and credit That's not a partisan thing. That's a governmental and an American thing.
It is a governmental and American thing. It's a Dave Ramsey thing, 1 to 4 on Talk 107.3 FM every afternoon, by the way. It is paying your bills is important. It is. But I think where we run into a problem is we never hear about the debt ceiling until it's too late. We never hear about rampant spending until it's already been spent. Just a general populist standpoint, this doesn't become a thing until it's too late, and it has to be corrected. And the debt ceiling has to be raised in order to maintain that full faith and credit of the U.S. Treasury. But why don't we hear about it on a day-to-day basis when it comes to every dollar that's spent goes towards this?
Brian, I think that's a very, very good and fair question. And it's a shame that we always come down to the last minute when it's a sense of urgency. It's a do or die. I think your comment is very spot on. I think it's something that we should do. It should not come to this last minute do or die where we're forced into the position that we're now forced into, that we have to act. We have to act more responsibly throughout the year. So when we come on these debt due periods, we're not in this sense of urgency. I'll remind the listening audience that what we're paying for is money that was spent.
Right.
This is like charging your credit card, and then when the bill comes, you say, oh, wait a minute, I got to pay this? Well, we have to be responsible in our spending before we get to the due date.
Yeah, and there's the rub, is we only look back on it when it's past due, when we're getting the notifications from the credit card company about those bills being due. Now, the amount that is being looked at to raise the debt ceiling, $15 trillion, is there wiggle room there? Because that would create buffer room as well, and I think that's probably a breaking point or a deal breaker for a number of people.
Well, the reality is when you think $15 trillion, it seems like more money than the average person will ever be able to count or fathom. But for the entire country, it's not as big as it seems. And if you shaved $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there, the real issue is making sure that that we honor our debt and that we have the credit rating that a superpower should have. So I don't know that a penny here, a penny there, or $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there really addresses the issue as much as making sure that that we maintain the full faith and credit of our country. I'll remind you that many of our friends that are opposed, and listen, myself included, no one likes having to raise the debt limit. I certainly don't like it, but I don't like taxes either, but I understand the necessity of them. Mm-hmm. So certain things are just a part of what we have to do. And I will tell you that many of my dear friends on the other side, who suggest that this is sacrosanct and we should never do this, did it 3 times in the Trump administration. 3 times. And it was bipartisan because we understood the importance. I just think we should be consistent and not have this bantering about we won't do it because the Republicans want to do it, or we won't do it because the Democrats want to do it. My God, man, let's do it because it's the right thing to do. And then going forward, let's do as you say. Let's make sure we don't make this a sense of urgency because we're waiting until the last minute. We should be frugal. We should be responsible. We should spend responsibly. We should not be willy-nilly, and we should budget and plan. And I don't think we've done a very good job at that, or else we wouldn't be in this position today.
No, and there's no end in sight, or there's no turning of the tide in sight to where we could start to see that debt ceiling ever lowered. Well, I don't foresee it in my lifetime.
And by the way, Brian, that's a criticism. That's a criticism for Democrats and Republicans.
Oh, totally.
We all equally bear that responsibility, and we have all done poorly in that regard, and we have to do better.
No, look, that's all 435 members of the House that you're in, and 100 on the other side as well. That is,
yes,
we spend like drunken sailors on shore leave, and then all of a sudden we wake up the next morning and the bill is due, and it's like whoa. But it's rinse repeat, Congressman, and I don't know how to break that cycle.
And I'll tell you that the old adage that's overused but makes sense. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But you have to systematically change the way people do business in Washington. Mm-hmm. I'm 4.5 months into this, and I'm trying every day to change the paradigm of how we operate, how we get along, how we work. It doesn't have to be as contentious. Listen, the very sense of having a representative form of government dictates that we're going to have different ideas, that we're going to represent different people with different philosophies. That's great. That makes us stronger. What we have to get away from is the venomous, just because one party said it or the other, we must be opposed to it. You can't tell me that Democrats don't come up with some good ideas. You can't tell me that Republicans don't come up with some good ideas. So we have to really hone in on breaking that cycle of us against them.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that, though. There's so much money to be made by everybody.
If it was easy, if it were easy, Brian, anybody would do it. Man.
That's true.
It's gonna take time. It's gonna take members that are sick and tired of seeing the gridlock, as I am, and many others. And listen, I'm not the only one that feels this way. There are lots of Republicans that feel just as I do. There are lots of Democrats that feel just as I do. Unfortunately, not enough yet.
No, yeah, it would be nice to go back to the days of the early '80s with a Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan sitting behind closed doors and then bringing their idea to the forefront, and then that's where it actually gets discussed, as opposed to now where, I mean, it's you get negative points if you don't spit on your opposition on a daily basis.
That's exactly right. And unfortunately, your numbers go up when you attack the other side more instead of trying to find middle ground. I mean, if you really appreciate and understand the rule of law, if you really appreciate and respect the Constitution, then you know negotiations and trade-offs are important. Being able to help in areas so you can get help in other areas. I mean, it's a very much a moving mosaic, but it requires time. It requires working together. It requires negotiations. And it requires doing that in earnest and honesty, trying to understand the other side instead of just dismissing it as the enemy.
Side note to that, and we got to talk transportation infrastructure as well before I get you out of here, but side note to that would be we've got to be honest with our own party, too. You made mention of that a little while ago. I just wanted to reiterate that. Tough love looking in the mirror just as much as critiquing the other side. Congressman Troy Carter's sorry, go ahead.
No, that's exactly right. I agree with you. And that's why I was emphatic to say, listen, we all own a piece of this. This is not a Republican or Democratic Party. This is a congressional problem.
100%. Now, transportation and infrastructure, where are we and where are we going to be? Does it look like this the mere $1.2 trillion package is going to get somewhere?
Listen, I've said all along that we should not let the good be the enemy, perfect be the enemy of the good. And my position has been, while I'd love to have all of the above, because in Louisiana we need both. We need the hard infrastructure, brick and mortar, but we also need broadband, housing, economic development that's been deemed as kind of soft infrastructure. You know, from Louisiana standpoint, we need it all. But I'm not ready to throw away the baby with the bathwater. We have to make sure that we get the resources that we need. We've got $580 million to improve water infrastructure across the state. Man, we need that. That's important. Upgrade aging sewage and water board New Orleans. You know, that's a major deal. $105 million to repair damage from the hurricanes. The Claiborne overpass in New Orleans. Flood control, damage, $17 billion annually. You know, I mean, we've got a lot of money in here, a lot of things that are critically important that's going to benefit Louisiana. Rapid rail from New Orleans to Baton Rouge and maybe even beyond in a greater vision on to Houston, Texas. Imagine if there was a hurricane and we were able to put people on rails and just get them out. Or imagine the economy of being able to tie our state so closely together with rapid rail that people can work in various parishes and go home, 100 miles away the night after work to be with their families. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have critical infrastructure that will last for generations to come. We have denied this deferred maintenance for many years. We have allowed our infrastructure to get to the point where, in some cases, our bridges and roads are barely passable. Many of our communities suffered flooding because we have not shored up our levee systems in areas or low-lying areas to have adequate flood protection. We saw that the investment we made after Katrina paid huge dividends. 16 years ago, we put significant money into shoring up and fortifying our levees. As a result of that, we didn't have as much damage as we could have. We have to also think about that now. We have to think about hardening our grid. We had 1 million people without power in Louisiana. That's unacceptable. And every year we know storms come, but we watch those telephone poles and those utility poles break like pretzels. We got to put them underground. We could have had people, although the storm had come and gone, 1 million people stuck in their homes in sweltering heat with no air conditioning. I mean, at what point do we stop doing the same thing over and over again? It's that traditional definition of insanity. You know, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. We're better than that. We're smarter than that. And the people of Louisiana and America deserve better.
Should be coming up for a vote. I got 30 seconds left. Should be coming up for a vote by Thursday. How's it looking? Can you handicap this one yet, or is it still too soon?
It's too soon. You know, I got to tell you, I've been telling people, hey, you got to ask me every 5 minutes because my answer may change. It literally is that fluid right now.
All right, we'll call you back in 5 minutes. He's Congressman Troy Carter. No, I'm just kidding. We'll talk to you next week. He's Congressman Troy Carter. We always appreciate the time, sir. Thank you so much.
My friend.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. I mean, it's Tuesday, and we don't know what's going to happen as of Thursday yet. And he's not wrong. There's still a lot to be going through here. But let that debate tell you what it's like in the other debate where they're talking about just keeping the dadgum government open. If you think you're contentious on $1.2 trillion, wait till you start talking about real money. All right, quick break. Coming back to close it out next. We're actually good on both of those because we hit the spot on both of them. We missed the report on both of them. They're not going to be happy about it. But contractually, we lived up to our obligations. Thank you. Oh, the debt ceiling. There's a push to raise the debt ceiling. Republicans don't want to raise the debt ceiling. Democrats do. It's so. This is an age-old debate, and we saw it in 2013. I think was the last time it was really big. When the ones that happened under Trump were not that big a deal. They weren't like. It wasn't the same scenario that we're looking at right now. But in 2013, there was a big one where this was the beginning of the Tea Party, and there was like, no, we're not raising the debt ceiling. It was a misunderstanding about what the debt ceiling was, or it seemed to be a misunderstanding about what the debt ceiling actually was. What was not being conveyed was that this is money we've already spent. We have to pay for the shit we bought. And that's, well, we're not. Well, you are, because if you default on your loans, we officially become China. Because that's who we owe the money to. All right, I'm about to give up on the CDC. They will not return a phone call. Yeah. I had remarkable access under the Trump administration. I had the number of people I had on this show. I had Fauci on this friggin' show, like during the Trump administration. But communication is basically stopped. Well, then don't sound off it because it's a matter of this administration just doesn't like to talk. That's shitty, but it's true. Yeah, I had Fauci. I had the Surgeon General. The list went on. The second in command for the Department of Health was a regular on this show. Come to find out, he's from the West Bank in New Orleans originally. He liked coming on because I was the only person in media that, like, wherever he'd go nationally, I was the only one that knew how to pronounce his name. Giroir.
It does go a long way, though.
Admiral Brett Giroir. Yes.
That does go a long way in establishing.
Damn right it does. But I make those phone calls now, and they go to a voicemail that's full.
It's a little upsetting.
Very.
Just a little bit.
Hmm?
It's a joking British accent.
Oh. Damn it.
Nailed it.
Do you want me to go back to using Spotify? Or is it cool if I stay with
It's fine over here. I prefer it. .856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Talk 107.3 is giving you a chance to enjoy a true Louisiana staycation on us at either the Renaissance or Watermark Hotel. Simply take our staycation survey at talk1073.com and you will be instantly registered for one of two staycations each month at the Watermark or Renaissance. We draw two winners a month, one on this show, one on the Jay Ducote show. It is a staycation with the Watermark and Renaissance hotels and Talk 107.3 FM, the new flavor of talk. You know, somewhere we moved over to the staycation survey. That's the promo that used to talk about how it was absolutely available. No, it was bad. You missed out on that. It was really bad. Hey, Governor John Bel Edwards will be addressing the media at 1 o'clock this afternoon. We will be carrying it live. The current mask mandate ends tomorrow. Will it be extended? I'm just guessing yes. Can't really... I went over it very early on in the show. 6:30 segment, if you wanted to go back and check it out. It's available on our YouTube page, or the show's YouTube page, I should say. It's tough to figure out because we don't know all the gating criteria. And we also have never been given a determined finish line. There's never been a positivity needs to be below 4%. Hospitalizations need to be below 500. The R0 number needs to be below a negative 0.6. Like, there's never been a series of benchmarks that we have to achieve. Like, when you sit down to take a test in school, you know what number you need in order to get an A. And you know how many questions you can miss in order to maintain that A. We don't have that here. We don't have that with COVID-19. When it comes to mitigation measures, it's just do more. How long do we have to wear the mask? Longer. What buildings do I have to wear the mask in? More of them. When will it be safe to take off the mask? Later, when COVID gets better. Okay, define better. Can't do it. I think one of the things that's been a problem with this is the lack of a goal. If you don't have goals, you can't achieve goals. If you don't have plans laid out, you can't accomplish those plans. We continue to see that be a problem. So what's the governor going to say at 1 o'clock this afternoon? I'm guessing he's just going to say one more month. Let's go another month, y'all. One more. Let's go. Buckle down. Although I would warn that mask fatigue, mandate fatigue, any sort of COVID fatigue is a very, very real thing. And wherever you go right now, When you walk into a grocery store, when you walk into a bank, when you walk into a Home Depot, when you walk into a Petco, look around. See how many people are wearing masks versus chin straps. Because the longer we go with this, the less likely we are to listen the next time a surge kicks in. And that shouldn't be lost on the governor. Preparing for the next mutation, the next variant, the next surge. All right, we're done. Governor's coming your way at 1. Fox News Rundown's next. Look, I don't know about you, but if the governor tells me today, guys, things are looking like they're starting to clear up. Now, we might have to call back and get these masks back in 2 weeks if we see a change, but let's go ahead and trust y'all right now. Let's trust y'all on the front end, okay? Be responsible with what you're doing. If you still feel like you should wear a mask, go ahead and do so. Don't mask shame people in public. Don't be the guy that walks up and is like, you're not doing any good, right? Don't be that guy. All right, but we're going to call off the dogs for right now. No more mask mandate for right now. But I got to tell you, we're starting to see other variants around, and it's not looking pretty. So be ready for when the hospitals get back to this number, we're going back to the masks. And that's what we haven't seen to this point. And I think when we do start to see things like that, when we are given an actual template to follow, which we're 4 surges in now, we should have by now. But there's only so much elasticity when it comes to ICU beds or emergency room beds. There's no elasticity, as far as I know, when it comes to ventilators. You got what you got. And just, if you could tell us where we need to be, damn it, we'll get there. Anyway, I got to go. I'll see y'all tomorrow with a fresh batch of sound from Governor John Bel Edwards' press conference. Also, Attorney Franz Borghardt will be in for Legally Served. Congressman Garrett Graves will give us the latest on what's going on in Washington, D.C., and I've got one more that I don't remember right now.